Moving ahead with the first panel discussion of the day, that is burnout versus productivity, navigating mental health and workplace pressure in the era of high output expectations. Please join me in welcoming our moderator, Ms. Saumya Badgayan, VP Corporate Strategy, HR and IR at Gold Star Jewellery Private Limited. Can we have a big round of applause for Ms. Saumya? Saumya is a dual PhD holder in marketing and psychology and a gold medalist in her postgraduate studies. With over 2 decades of experience spanning retail, education, telecommunication, e-commerce, and jewelry, she has spent 15 years as a visiting professor and professor of practice at various business schools. Her expertise lies in luxury strategy, guiding business transformation from ideation to execution. Saumya is also a mentor at NASCOM, a TEDx speaker and an NLP practitioner. She has delivered keynote speeches at over 250 platforms and continues to contribute as a thought leader in her domain. A passionate animal lover, she fosters stray cats and other animals, ensuring their medical care and well-being. With this, I would like to call upon stage our co-panelist, Rajat Sanan, Head of Learning and Development at SG Analytics, Vaibhav Pawar, Head of Learning and Development at the Supreme Industries Limited, Mr. Balasubramanian Sethuraman, Head HR at Parekh Integrated Service Private Limited, Mr. Abdul Mattoo, VP and Head Training at Max Life Insurance Company Limited, Mr. Gauresh Gaitonde, Head of Learning and Development at API Holdings, Ms. Anita Dsouza, Head of Learning and Development at KISNA. Can we have a big round of applause for all the panelists and the moderator? I would request Ms. Saumya to take the conversation ahead. Thank you.
So good morning all. पहले ही आप लोग burned out दिख रहे हैं. अभी तो चालू ही हुआ है panel. Okay. Are you comfortable, darling? Or would you like to take the seat that side? Absolutely. You are fine? Awesome. So this is the way that I moderate. I never sit there. I'm amongst you all so that we can pose questions to them. Burnout is something which is very real in today's world. हर कोई कर रहा है. You've seen singers cancelling their programs. Right? हाँ कि ना? Right? कि इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ कि मैंने बोला है. So we are reading all of this and yet we wonder ये चीज़ क्या है? What is the difference between burnout and fatigue? So burnout is something which is more at an emotional level and fatigue is more at a physical level, though each of them manifest with each other as co-panelists. So here we are talking about burnout. Chota sa, kahan gayi? This girl, come here darling, has told me 30 minutes में खत्म करने का है. Okay, पहले ही इसने मुझे स्ट्रेस दे दिया है. पैनलिस्ट है 6, बहुत नाइंसाफी है रे. So this is what happens usually when you are short of time. So एक ने मुझे मैसेज किया, नाम नहीं लूँगी, मेरा तो 10वां क्वेश्चन था. Okay, I said आपका नंबर आएगा और ज़रूर आएगा. So we starting with Abdul. Okay, and we say leadership is a responsibility. And what roles do you see leaders playing in this? I think a very important role. सबसे ज़्यादा burnout उन्हीं की वजह से होता है. But your take on that?
Sure. Thanks. And a very warm good morning to all of you. I believe the primary role leaders can play is shifting the focus. Shifting the focus from focusing on productivity to being productive. And when we say focusing from productivity to being productive, it's shifting focus from the task to people. And when the leader focuses on people is when the burnouts will happen less and productivity in fact will increase. And 3 things leaders primarily can do One is work on bringing clarity. Clarity on goals to the team, right? Clarity on what is expected from the team to work on. They should be crystal clear on what is expected from them. The second one is also creating a regular way of rewarding the team. And when we say leader rewards, and generally the tendency is to reward on the outcomes, the equal importance should be given by the leaders on efforts also. Efforts and outcomes should be given equal importance while rewarding, and that can minimize the burnouts which people experience. And one more important thing is not only reward one-time great effort or one-time great outcome, reward also consistency, even if it is on a little lower scale, but if it is consistent, reward that as well. And the last but not the least, and very, very important, which leaders must follow, is giving feedbacks. Giving feedbacks for good performance, giving feedback for not good performance, analyzing and asking people question, what went well? How did you achieve it? And what could have been better? I think that empowers people to think, reflect, and minimizes burnouts. That's what role leaders can play.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you are saying that yes, leaders can help and facilitate the easing out of the culture of the organization.
Absolutely.
And thereby easing out the pressure that employees feel by giving them feedbacks and feed forwards. That's how I understand of you. Thank you very much. That's really amazing. During these COVID times, you know, we've seen something wherein a lot of mental health issues came up, right? And Rajat, I would be posing this to you. So, you know, while we were saying that, oh, bhai, itna traffic hai, Mumbai mein to bhai work from home mil gaya, zindagi sudhar gayi, zindagi chaman ho gayi hamari. That is what people would say, right? And so how do you think that digitalization and remote work, you know, bhai sahab aap meri photo le rahe, samne wale bhi bol rahe, remote workplaces would, you know, contribute towards, you know, the workplace burnout, ease out syndrome. So your take on it, Rajat, since you come from the tech world.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for this question. When COVID stuck, and that point of time, everybody said, now we'll go virtual. We will not need people to come to offices. I used to think, and I used to also speak to some people, we are just building a new problem. We have learned in systems thinking that when you look at something as the first solution, that first solution actually becomes a problem of the future. And now when we're talking about work from home, as she said that hamari life to bahut badhiya ho gayi, I would say it's not that. Although I come from old school, we provide hybrid working at SG Analytics. But I feel people who come to office every day,
Right.
they are happier.
Absolutely.
They are more productive. Not because the water cooler conversation is very encouraging, but because they get time to take it off for some time. So when you get up in the morning, you get ready. If you have a lot of traffic, you are lucky because you are in the cab, you are in the
Right,
train,
right.
you have your music going on, so you are relaxing.
Absolutely.
But when you are working from home, you get up at 8:30 for a 9 o'clock shift.
Right.
You get into your meetings, you just put on your headsets, and most of the time, your camera is off. As an L&D person, I keep asking my people, can you please switch on your camera? But they're like, I have a problem with my camera, I have a problem with my thing. So I feel the work from home has actually led to this stress.
Absolutely.
Because people, again, you know, even any generation, Alpha, Millennials, Gen Z, Zennial, anyone, everybody is human and everybody has it at their back of the mind. People in the office must be thinking, I'm not working.
Oh, yes.
So they put in additional hours of work. Some of the people will be like, they will not even take breaks. And yes, there is another lot which will be like only on breaks. So because of that lot, the larger lot is getting rogered. So my intake, working from home leads to stress. So you need to work from office. I think this is a very good thing, coming to office at least 2 days.
Absolutely.
I work from office 5 days,
Yeah.
but that's a different story altogether.
Absolutely, yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
I absolutely endorse that thought line also because of the simple reason that when you're working out of office, एक तो चीज़ मैंने देखी है कि आदमी की लंबाई नहीं समझ में आता बट एक बम्प होता जा रहा है ना स्पीड बम्प पेट बढ़ता जाता है दैट्स व्हाट आई हैव सीन आई हैव ऑब्जर्व्ड इन पीपल एंड द सेकंड थिंग दैट आई हैव ऑब्जर्व्ड इज एटलीस्ट व्हेन यू आर वर्किंग फ्रॉम ऑफिस यू कैन ऑलवेज स्विच ऑफ एंड गो बैक होम यहाँ पर स्विचिंग ऑफ का फंडा ही नहीं है राइट यू आर कॉन्स्टेंटली ऑन एंड आई हैव हर्ड मैनेजर्स से कि अरे तू क्या हुआ घर पे ही तो है ना तू नहीं घर पे नहीं हूँ मैं काम कर रहा हूँ या रही हूँ right so what I would also that brings me to saying that there are many organizations now Bala who are going through Balasubramanian बहुत लंबा पड़ता है so it's okay if I call you Bala
Yes, very
cool.
much.
Right so a lot of people working from home and all these organizations now have come together and they say that now we have a mental health policy. ये पॉलिसी क्या है मुझे पता नहीं है क्योंकि लाइक आई सेड मेरी माँ तो 2 झापड़ मार देती थी और सारी पॉलिसीज सही हो जाती थी है ना देयर वाज नो मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम बट व्हाट इज योर टेक ऑन एंड आर दीज पॉलिसीज रियली इफेक्टिव यू नो there's a lot of sense of indiscipline also that I'm seeing that is creeping up in the system, which is also adding to this, this stress burnout symptom and syndrome. So your take on it, Bala.
Sure. Good morning to everyone. And I'm sure all of us are going through small stress even now. How many of us came at 8:30, 8:45, 9 in the morning? So how many of us are just looking at the watch for the next 20 minutes and then we are going for a coffee break? Some stress is, I'll just stand up so it becomes a little easy. So I think as Saumya just rightly mentioned, we have been bashing Gen Z, Gen X, सबको problem है, stress तो every one of us goes through. It's up to us how you deal with the stress. It's like this, if you have a problem, if you discuss at home, you get an opportunity to find a solution. But if you don't have the trust, if you don't have a culture of trust, which is what is happening in many of the organizations, you have a policy on paper, but it doesn't get implemented primarily because there is no confidence, there is no trust, there is no communication that happens between the leadership or the reporting manager or the reportee because of 3 simple reasons. Number 1, if I say I have a problem, I will be benchmarked as ये तो mentally ill है. What's going to happen to his performance? How am I going to backfill? Because the mind will start flowing at a very high speed in terms of finding a replacement if it's a very, very critical job and you have someone who's coming and telling you openly that I have a problem. Because the manager is not trained. And that's when training plays an important role. When we draw out a policy, you also need to have adequate training and coaching given to the managers, the leaders, the peers, and everyone put together in terms of this is not for you, this is for us as a group, that we need to go through training, we need to go through learning, we need to understand that this policy is just a guideline. But how we use it to the advantage of all of the organizations, team members, it's up to us. So number 1, I'll just make it a little crisper. Point number 1 is to ensure that we build a culture of comfort, culture of positivity. The buying comes from the leadership because it starts from top down, and the leadership will invest only when they see some kind of green. Let me be very honest with you as well. One is to have a paper for audit purpose, and one is to have it in reality and ensure that it gets implemented, and that will get done only when we also are supporting the business.
Super.
And lastly, training, counseling, coaching is what's going to take us ahead to actually improve, inculcate, and take things forward. With this, I'll just close it right here. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Bala. You were just in the nick of the time. नहीं तो वहाँ से वो बेल बजाने वाली ही थी. Okay, so in continuation to what Bala said, Anita, we were also discussing many things about, like he said, the implementation process, the buy-ins created. So do you think that the KPIs should also include, part of this? What is your take on it?
Thank you. Am I audible? Okay. KPIs have always been a part of our performance reviews, right? They play a very vital role.
Absolutely.
But traditional KPIs versus the well-being KPI. Are we actually looking at the well-being KPI? Is it included in our regularly, monthly check-ins that we do?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Honest answer. Yeah.
I really want to stand and speak here. How many of y'all are here from retail? Retail, shop floor. Anyone here? Where you deal with sales directly, the sales team, right? So, of course, throughout the year or every day, your daily briefing, your monthly check-ins, your quarterly check-ins, most of the time you focus on KPIs. It could be your conversions, it could be your ATV, your UPT, your AUR, and so many KPIs. But when did we last check in on a well-being metric? Are you really satisfied with your job? Are you going through some kind of a stress that you're not performing? Is everything okay at home? So when you do a weekly check-in or a monthly check-in, I feel that the first 10-15 minutes, and I still do it today, first 15 minutes, just check the well-being. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
Simple as that, right? So now what does well-being KPI include? I feel we do NPS at the stores, right? Audit checks.
Right.
When do we do ENPS, Employee Net Promoter Score? Do it regularly. Pull out that time monthly. When you do monthly check-ins, have a 10-minute coffee break, one-on-one. Spend that quality time understanding, right? Mentally, or is there a work-life balance?
So I hear you, Anita. So what you're trying to say is that one-on-one conversations are very important.
Super important.
And that also gives you the overall health of the organization, especially to the people who are the frontline face-forward people to the outside world. So
Absolutely.
the smiles on those people need to be intact for them to be able to drive that.
It creates
Yes.
a resilient workforce,
Absolutely.
a resilient organization, right?
Absolutely.
Where then you probably shadow them, coach them, mentor them, you'll see a result.
Absolutely. So for the paucity of time, thank you very much for your take on that. Because Gauresh तो एकदम से ऐसे बैठे हुए हैं कि ये तो मुझे
मेरा
बोलने
10th question
देंगे
नहीं
तो।
आएगा।
हाँ, बोलने नहीं देंगे. So we were talking about, देखो Gauresh, I promised. Okay. And usually I keep my promise.
Question number 10.
Shh. Amit, you're not supposed to do that. पर हमारे यहाँ वैसे भी paper out ही होता है. So Gauresh, what we were saying is that when we are talking about, and she spoke so beautifully well about being the champions and having those emotions, etc., and garnering those information from various sources. How do you think technology? मैं ना AI बोलूँगी, ना AR बोलूँगी, ना कुछ बोलूँ, मैं सिर्फ एक blanket word बोलूँगी, technology. How do you think technology can play a pivotal role in this? Does it play a role? क्योंकि किसे अच्छा लगता है आज सुबह आपका gain skills में स्वागत है. Do you like that, or you would really want someone to go and hug you and say, welcome to gain skills? So, your take on that.
All right. I will answer this question with two parts. First, we as L&D professionals...
Take all your time. अब ये कुछ नहीं बोल सकती, अपन last है.
All right, so the first thing is, do we as L&D professionals have the power to bring about change and reduce stress, reduce burnout? Do we have that kind of a strength? That is what I will answer first. And then the second part is, how do we do it? Okay, so using technology. So on the first part, I will give you an example. So I come with 20 years of experience in learning and development. Okay, trained a lot of people, did a lot of coaching, etc. But one biggest contribution that I had was that I reduced the number of deaths of grandparents. I reduced major power failures and also reduced a lot of people getting hospitalized. And how did I do that? In 2023, I did that by simply changing the start time for training programs from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. All the excuses went out. Everybody started coming for training, right? So we do have the power, right? We are stressing people by saying that you have to come at 9 a.m. in the morning, right, for a training program. No, you can come at 11 a.m. Think about it that way, right? So you have certain controls. Largely as a HR community as well, we have a lot of power, okay? And so I'm going to talk about how do we use technology to do that. 3 simple points over here. My first point is boost productivity, okay? How can you do that? By leveraging AI tools. Today, you don't need people to work on traditional tools, okay, like Excel or Word or PowerPoint. These things can be done very easily using AI tools. Okay, a lot of these are available. I have been using AI tools and for developing content, for creating presentations, for creating dashboards for almost 1.5 years. So I can tell you this can be done. Enable your employees, give them the right tools, invest in those tools. That is the first point. The second is, there is a lot of data that can be created. There is a lot of data that can be managed as well. Okay, and AI can do this for you very swiftly. If you think about it, all the feedback forms throughout your lifetime, whatever feedback forms you had sent, we used to come with a small number value saying that what is the average score, right? Now you have the power to look at your comments, take all your comments, put it in ChatGPT, and it will tell you exactly what is it saying. What are your people saying about your training programs? Now the same thing you can leverage when it comes to, how stressed people are. So what is your mood in the morning? How are you doing? How things are going? All this data can be put into ChatGPT and it can be managed. And the third point which I have is with regards to enabling people through curated AI tools. If you do that, go and find out what AI tools are available. Ask them, teach them how to use these particular tools. Life will become easy for all these people. When you reduce this kind of work, when things become simple for them, stress will go down, burnout will go down. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Gauresh. And that was a wonderful panel. We are now open for questions. But uske pehle, just one question to maybe any of you. If burnout के ऊपर कोई movie बनती तो उसका नाम क्या होता? शोले. Okay. Thank God रामगढ़ के शोले नहीं बोला. Okay. So anyone would like to have any questions answered? Anyone? Okay, to the audience, अगर burnout का anthem होता, song होता, what would it be? Anyone? Any song on burnout? Oh, I love the women there. मैं आ रही हूँ आपके पास. I'm very good at that. Teaching experience है ना, वो बच्चे इधर उधर होते हैं तो दिख जाता है. Yes. Please, any song that comes to your mind on burnout?
जिया जले जान जले.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Okay. What job should come with a burnout label warning? जॉब टाइटल जिस पे लेबल वार्निंग का लगा हो कि भाई ये बर्नआउट है. एनीवन? एनीवन वांट्स टू टेक?
HR for sure.
HR for sure. Sir, the reason.
I think HR is the punching bag of the entire organization.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Okay. A serious question. What is the fastest way to see that this is a burnout colleague? Fastest way to identify a burnout colleague? Yes. Yes, I will. Burnout, बताइए. मैं भूली नहीं हूँ आपको. He's like, मैं हूँ. I said, I've not forgotten you. She's given me extra time. Hi. She's getting burnout. बाप रे, ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? So I'll give you a googly now. Okay? Googly अच्छा होता है, right? चलेगा ना? इसलिए तो burnout के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं हम लोग. थोड़ा stress होना चाहिए life में.
By all means.
Right. I love this. So how organizations can, strike a balance between productivity, employee engagement, and yet keep burnouts at bay? Generic बोला है साहब मैंने आपको.
Thank you. So, I'll just try to talk a little bit about awareness thing because we're talking about organizations, how they manage the burnout.
Right.
Because personally, thoda sa drift hai, lekin personally I feel that awareness as a matter of fact is a very long route. And in India, we are, just started here. Because I'll give you a very simple example, which I feel that, any one of us, if we have fever or maybe a cut on our hand, okay, and we tell our known ones, they'll come and they'll help us providing medical assistance immediately. But if you go and tell, I've got anger issues, I've got mental health issues, okay? So in that case, they'll maybe recommend you a yoga or maybe good food. Or all the matter, if you say, I have got any other mental issues, they'll say, okay, fine, you go and wear a pearl ring or maybe a neelam ring, something like that. And I'm not trying to criticize astrology as a matter of fact, but what makes sense... No. So that's what I said, disclaimer.
Yeah.
So what's important is we today even, let's accept that we look at, mental health issues in a bad light, in a very negative way.
Right.
Okay? And we need to understand that, it's high time we go for having professional, assistance in this case. So talking about companies, as a matter of fact, what burnout can help, I personally feel this is a very specified, this is a very expert branch of science. So at Supreme, what we have is we have a visiting doctor. Okay, he every week he visits the company premises. He's a dedicated space that has been provided to him. And he meets people who face some problems, or there's a small health checkup. And we are also, thinking about bringing a psychiatrist because, these issues are cropping up every now and then.
True.
So it's important that we have experts' advice. That's one important thing. Second is, what Bala said, it's important that we create first line of leaders who can understand mental health issues, trained by a psychiatrist, and just observe what is the red flag and just act on that. So that's the first thing that you can do. At the end of the day, until or unless, and again, let's accept this. Medical assistance out there in the market, I may be wrong also. For a health insurance, you don't get mental health being covered. And the cost of one counseling in a metro city, if you see, might be ranging around $2,000 to $3,000. Okay, and in a tier 2, tier 3 city, it would be somewhere around 1,000 rupees. So at that stage, going for a mental, health checkup or maybe, going for a counseling on a regular basis is again exorbitant cost for certain people, especially middle class. So companies have to drop in here. Companies have to provide that support. So
True.
that's the finest way I think we can, address this elephant which has been lying in for almost decades.
Absolutely.
Okay? Thank you.
So that is the precise reason why I was asking the question that how would you identify, an employee or a colleague who's had a burnout? And that's where I wanted to lead to your questions. So हमने क्या देखा है वो बड़ा interesting चीज़ था. We saw one person very jovial, okay? Fridays को pubs जाना ही है उसको. And we used to think, यार इसके बड़े ऐसे हैं हर फ्राइडे पैसे उड़ाना है मज़े है यार parties and all. But what we also got to know later is there was a bigger problem simmering within and below the surface, which was that the person wanted to escape from the rut of the life. And alcohol was the solace that the person found. So these things, these kind of things may not look at a very obvious level the way that they are, but as leaders, if we are observant, if we talk to them, and of course, if we do counseling, so there's a difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist. So please have a psychologist with you all, and then probably you can, engage with a psychiatrist who can prescribe medicines. But someone needs to get into the data of the things. Thank you very much. You've been an awesome panel. Thanks a lot for all your inputs. ये अब मुझे लड़की क्वेश्चन पूछने नहीं देगी, so I will pause it. She's already peeping from it, and I'm hiding behind the. Okay, all yours, darling. Thanks a lot. 2 minutes है अभी. तो फिर पहले क्यों रोक देती है मेरे को हर थोड़ी देर में? So now next time if you show me 2 fingers, I'll take it as a victory sign. 2 minutes are still there. You wanted to say something? Yes.
So I had a question for the panel, if I may. This question is for Abdul. You did mention about, rewarding, the effort and not just the outcome. And I think that is a very powerful statement. However, I just want to understand the dynamics of it. How would it look like? Because whenever we want to reward something, we really want to have some measures around it, some numbers around it, and which comes as an outcome, right? So we're rewarding something that someone has achieved, whereas the effort is very difficult to identify because the effort could also result into a failure. It might not necessarily be that there is a constant effort and there is success happening, right? But that effort needs to be rewarded. I think there is a lot of power in that. However, how do we identify and how do we do justice to the reward, really? If you could just throw some light.
Thanks for the question. In fact, I would refer back to our own organization. How do we measure efforts and how do we then reward them also? For each employee, there is a choreography which is being built. What an employee is expected to do every day in terms of activities. And we measure those activities, and there is a standard which is expected for an employee to deliver every day in terms of activities, not in terms of outcomes. So outcomes are the result of the activities which we do, and inputs lead to outputs, like the number of calls a salesperson is supposed to do in a day is an effort which is in control of the salesperson, the number of customer meetings that he will do or she will do, that we measure, and we appreciate people on the effort also being made. While the conversion would be the outcome, which would come later, but we give equal importance to efforts, and that's the result that we are able to measure and outcomes and predict them in a better way. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that beautiful answer. Yes, Bala wanted to say something. Please go ahead.
Just to add on to the point that you made about how do you identify the burnouts, I think all of us have had friends all along in our lives. So I think the best people to actually open up and speak up is you need to have someone to whom you can discuss, share your concerns, and that's what is going to be the end game. It can be a brother, sister, friend, mother, father. I think you don't need to go out. You have people around the vicinity who can surely help you. And professionally, obviously, you need to have office colleagues on whom you need to have the trust, you need to have the confidence. And that's when I said that you need to build a trust within your team so that anyone can speak openly and share their feelings. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks a lot. And with this,
I just want to add, so we've been talking about identifying a burnout employee. A lot of times it's a notion that somebody who's not doing well, somebody who's missing deadlines, somebody who has problems is burning out. You might find that people who are the top performers,
yes,
they are the ones who are on the verge of burning out.
Absolutely.
And that is why as an organization, we would always give help to people who are not doing well, because that's what we do. We should start focusing on people who are high performers, because they are the ones who have never seen failure. The burnout happens when they see the first failure and they are not able to understand what to do with that. So it's not every employee who is missing the deadlines or any employee who is not doing well. Even your star performers are burning out. So you should definitely always look at them.
So what you're saying is that please be very careful of your 80-20 principles, the Pareto's principle, right? Thank you. I think she's already on the dais. Please go ahead. Thanks. Oh, there's someone?
Just
Oh, sorry.
adding
Yes,
one
yes.
sentence here.
Yes.
Workplace happiness index plays a very important role. You know, in schools, today, okay, even my child goes to school, if there is a student who doesn't perform, where does he go? To a counselor. He's been sent to a counselor. The counselor spends time, monitors the improvement, right? I'm sure all of you will put your hands up, especially the HODs here. You play a dual role. You also become a counselor. Most of the time to the underperforming employees. So I think as an organization, the organization that I work to, we have already started implementing to hire counselors to reduce burnout. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you Saumya ma'am. इतना जल्दी आपने 30 minutes में cover किया है. भूषण sir, 30 minutes. Burnout.
Welcome to the club.
Considering the time, तो होता है मतलब 30 minutes में panel discussion हो जाएगा.
Wow, thank you so much.
उन्होंने वो set कर दिया. Okay, ठीक है. So moving ahead, I would like to call upon stage Miss Vrishali Kaul at Suzlin Group to do the honors.